Hello and welcome to the AO Daily Show, your source of real news in an unreal world, keeping up to date with the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Wednesday, the 23rd of October, and I'm your host, Shozen, and with me today is my co-host, Bogul. Today we have a very, very special episode for you. It's going to be mostly an interview. We have a little bit of news for you. We're going to try to get through it as fast as possible.
I'm here too.
I may let Bogul talk for a few seconds to tell you guys the news, but the interview is 57 minutes long, and we got to get to the crystals. What? So, Bogul, tell them what the news is today that we will be covering tomorrow.
57?
Dude,
okay,
yeah, go.
Shoot. We have Personal Patch 8 releasing today. I will post a link in Twitch chat. That comes with a bunch of Halloween goodies, specifically All Hallows, the new Halloween event. It has a temporary dungeon. We get to get a death race with mounts or something in the future. Mm-hmm. And we have a forum contest running as well that is very interesting, to say the least. However, since you already mentioned at the interview with KingMojo, we don't have time today to talk about that in detail. We just have time to copy the links and paste them in Twitch chat in case people watch this later or want to check it out now. There are some great prizes to win. Among the first place for the forum contest, for example, is 6 months of premium status and a great, nice skin. But we will talk about all of that tomorrow at length with no hassle. One thing, there's a fame boost supposed to start on November 4th.
That's important.
So that's something to look forward to. And that's, I guess, everything I say today.
Yeah,
and you can introduce our special guest today.
Yeah, we're going to have an interview with KingMojo. As you will be able to tell, we designed this to be a 30-minute interview, and then I asked him a couple of questions, and things got out of hand. So we discuss everything from the season, the history of the season, how things happened, the fallout, a little bit of drama between the love triangle, moving on into who he would work with in other guilds. Finally, we rounded out with a bit of talk about the damnation hooey. So, yeah, thank you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy this interview. Let's get right to it.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, we're here with KingMojo. We're going to do a Season 7 breakdown. Basically, give it a historical context, and we'll break it down from beginning to end, from the first opening days to now, which is what, like a week before it ends, and it's already been decided. So I'm going to give most of this next half hour or so to KingMojo, and he's going to tell us what happened during the season, and I'll interject to just ask questions.
Yeah. So the season started out pretty slow. Squad was on the downsizing. We ended up coming off of our third season win. Mm-hmm. So we were kind of on the down. Not just in numbers, because our plan was to downsize, but at the same time, our peak, it wasn't there anymore, right? So we weren't as strong as we were in the previous seasons. So I knew this season was going to be a slow one. I knew this season was going to be a rebuilding season. It wasn't going to be our strongest. Mm-hmm. So what did we do? We went for content in the beginning weeks. We dropped a lot of guilds. So we started at about, 2,000 members. We ended up at about 1,800. Mm-hmm. So we downsized to about 1,800. And I saw Oops kept getting bigger and bigger. And I didn't mind that at first. What ended up happening is we were contesting castles as squad. So it was BA, Men in BR, and Conflict. Those three guilds. So together on the maximum, we could pull like 150. So we were pulling 150, and we were fighting every night, 150 versus 250, 150 versus 300. So it was a big numbers game, and we were losing that.
Is this when Black Order was on their own, and they were trying to push for first on their own? Guerreros by this time had already fallen out of the top 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
So AW wasn't in squad. Black Order wasn't in squad. They were doing their own thing, and they were doing good.
And this is right
But
when June had basically just started to take hold of that Daddy Alliance. They had just left Win.
yes.
Maybe it was week 3 after they left Win by this time, because you're talking about 2 weeks into the season, about, from what it sounds
Yeah.
like. And at this point, Daddy had not even gotten to the time when they had even started making their push against Money Guild. They had made some basic GVG victories, and they had been talked about going into the season as being good against Money Guild. But at this point, I think even 1PG was making more of a push against Money Guild and Mercia from the time you're talking about.
So 1PG was trying to reclaim their territories because every reset day would come, and they would need they had no ZVZ force, so that they were trying to retake their territories. June was on the come up. But what June lacked was ZVZ force. So you look at AW Gaming, they ended up joining later on. Black Order ended up joining later on, and that's what they were lacking. So they took in these guilds. They started building on top of that, but it still didn't have, like, Daddy Alliance still didn't have that culture. It still didn't have that objective where everybody was working for the same thing. So you had June getting a few points here, a few points there. AW was getting a few points here. Black Order was getting a few points there. And then you had Money Guild and Oops all taking points for Money. So it wasn't even close. And the build started, the lead started building up more and more. All the outposts were going to Money Guild. All the territories were going to Money Guild. All the castles were going to Money Guild. So it looked like Money Guild was coasting to an easy win.
Yeah,
that's what it looked like.
It really looked like they were. I mean, if you talk about week 6, even then, they just looked like halfway point through the season. They looked like they were dominant. I think it was like week 6, maybe week 7, when you started to first hear the rumors that Squad was going to join up with Daddy, and you heard that, like, you had just seen 1PG. I don't know if you could say they almost folded to June at this point, as you saw so many people, like, kind of go over to Blue Army. Like, Anissa left Exertion at this point, at about the 6 weeks point, and
she was the GM.
Yes, and she's also, like, I don't know, like, the motivator for even a lot of times 1PG, because the 1PG guys seem to still have that familia ties, if you will. And when they get their best work together is when they're all fighting for that one goal. And it seemed like they folded against June there. Like, they just got beaten down. I don't want to say they folded. Like, it was like they just had too many losses in a row. And
I wouldn't say folded because they weren't at war with them.
Yeah, they just didn't have enough to even go to war. Like, it is kind of how it was at this point. They were kind of between Money Guild during the day and then June at night. I think it was just too much.
Yeah. So where did we leave off?
So week 6, 7, right when you guys, like, the rumors are starting of Squad and June. I mean, I think they started about 4 days before it even happened.
So we were in Anglia, relaxing. You know,
chilling,
shooting some pool.
Yeah.
Shooting some people outside the school, and then Money Guild was being super well behaved. They were just coasting to their season win.
Yeah, very quietly. No shit talk, just quietly doing their job. June was much more vocal in their victories than Money Guild. I think you had, like, maybe 2 or 3 guys in Money Guild who were doing any shit talk at all. But Derek, for this season, has been very mild, very respectful in everything that I've seen. His most respectful so far. But yeah, I didn't see any real beef even. It was like it was manufactured beef almost up to a point. And then there seemed to be this weird thing with TC, right? Like, didn't TC start making a push, and there was internally stuff about TC and Money Guild and even Duratine taking over the Oops Alliance at one point, which just seemed nonsense. I think that was a little bit earlier in the season, but you started to hear, I don't know, like, people getting pissed off at TC. And I feel like that, whatever TC was doing, this more activity that they were doing was what really caused this, I don't know, like this inflation of daddy. The Big Daddy Alliance became together to beat TC, who were talking shit and winning. They were winning, let's be clear. They were winning. And they were talking shit when they were winning. And that was like, yeah, but you motherfuckers are giving all your points to Derek just so he can win. And people didn't like that. Like, I feel like it almost, if TC was giving them, like, doing the work for themselves, I don't think people would have joined to beat them. Like, I think it would have been okay, they beat June. TC beat June. TC gets a crown. But there was something about this TC winning, talking shit, and giving all their points to Money Guild, who were just like quietly winning, but like still like this back and forth with June. And if you were to just look at June and Money Guild, you'd say this is a tight fucking race for number one, and it would be great if these two could fight, and I'd love to see that. But TC is helping Money Guild win and talking a lot of shit. And I feel like that's where somebody was like, I don't know what the backroom deal was, but
I think Money Guild. I think Derek was he was just chilling. He was putting in the work. He was working hard. He knew this could have been Money Guild's third season win, and so he was playing it smart. He had the right allies. He had a strong alliance. They were strong in ZVZ. They were strong in GVG. But I think Take Care was a little too much to control, too much to manage. So Money Guild was chilling. They were getting the points. Everything was going good. Blue Army was actually on the down low. So Take Care was the dominant ZVZ guild at the time. And
they were far ahead. They were really doing very well in ZVZs. They were bringing 120, 130 to a ZVZ from one guild. From one guild. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
BA's never done that. BA's never. Well, they on reset day. On reset day, yes. But
only on reset day.
But not for a fucking castle. Oop.
Right. Yeah. Right now we're pulling 120 per castle. By the way, on EU.
Oh wow! So you've really upped your number. Like that's new. That's not. That's
new. Right.
Like that's the end of this season 7 happening now.
That's so ridiculous. Let me tell you, we have the main aggressor players joined us. The main 1PG players joined us. And we also have some of the main Frog 1 / Brook Boys players, Frenchies, join us too. So we had a lot of guilds at this banding joining us. We're a stable home, that's why. But those numbers are, like you said, it's unheard of for one guild. It doesn't happen. It only happens if you mass recruit. BA never mass recruited. Take Care just completely took advantage of their hype. They had their hype train. They had their propaganda train. Everything was going good for them. Boom, they just recruited everybody. They were pulling 100, 110, 120 on their peak, the castles. Something that BA never did. BA never mass recruited. We always were picky. Our average is like 60 for a CTA, nowhere near 80, 90, 100, 120, so Take Care was doing super good. The problem was, I think they just got too much ahead of themselves. So they thought they overthrew us. They thought it was done. And they were just talking so much shit. BA is dead. Squad is dead. Blah, 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 whatever. And we were fighting in 150 versus 300 on a daily basis. It was too much. And Daddy Alliance also was trying to fight him, Scus, and AW Gaming and Asterio versus all of Oops or whatever. It just wasn't working. So I understood what was going on here, And I said, okay, fuck it. We're just going to chill in Anglia. We're going to let it happen. If Money Guild wins, they win. I don't care. I wasn't in the right mind state. I was drinking a lot at the time. I just stopped. I actually just stopped drinking at the time, So my brain was all fucked up. And I don't know. I just didn't care about the game. And then I saw my boys. My boys were like, every time we got shit talked, their eyes were like lighting up. Our boys were all excited, whatever. And I was enjoying our Anglia vacation. And I was like, maybe it's too much effort to just go out there and actually try hard. I didn't shot call a real fight in like 2 weeks prior to that. So I was super rusty. So I was like, you know what? Like I forget which day it was, but I remember one day it just clicked. It just clicked. You know, June's been was asking us for help every single day. Um, so I was like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it, let's do it. Boom. I talked to Starseed. I talked to Artista. They both told me, don't you think it's too late? I said, I don't know. Fuck it, let's try it.
I think
Let's try it.
Like, that was an exciting week because this really lasted what, 10 days? Because this war,
10 days, that's it. One week and a half. That's it.
it was a week of regular points,
Right.
and then we had Invasion Day. Then there was, okay, I have to ask, how significant was the decision of Derek to go after the towers and leave Mercia free on Invasion Day to that secured points in the next 3 days that really just gave the season to June? Was that decision really as impactful as what it seemed like? Because it looked like the idea was mage rating gives you more points than holding mageless zones. And if we go after the prime towers of June, they're 6, they're 7s, we can get big points in crystals, but then we will then raid mages like crazy, gain points like that, and it won't matter that we don't have territories because we're getting raiding points. Do you feel like that was his plan? Because that's what it felt like to me. And then there was that defense of the mages, and it just backfired horrifically.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good question. I think it was more impactful than people think. So when BA won last season, we were a certain amount of points ahead, like 70K points ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept that 70,000 point lead because we had almost no territories and we were able to mage raid. The difference is that the map is twice as big now as it was before. There's twice as many objectives. There's twice as many territories. So what ended up happening is BA and Take Care said, okay, how about this? We take over the Royals and we'll just mage raid all of Mercia, all of Cumbria. It sounded smart. I had doubts in my mind. I didn't know, okay, these guys are stupid. I didn't think that. I thought, okay, maybe they're right. You know, I was a little insecure about that. I said, okay, what if they're right about that? I knew what they were going to do, right? But we proceeded with our plan. And I understood there's so many objectives and so many points to go around this season that there wasn't last season. So last season, their strategy was viable, and this season, it wasn't. So they did the smart thing according to the info they had, right? So they thought, okay, last season BA did this. Maybe we should do this. We should do this, and it will work again. But there's so much more points to go around this time that it just didn't work. So that move itself completely ended the season. It was done.
Yeah. Well,
once I saw that June was able to defend their mages, it was done.
That's the part that got me. Was this is the first time we've seen mages defended. Like,
yeah.
And that to me, even more than the more points going around, was the fact that June said, okay, your plan is to mage raid. We're going to mage defend. And we're going to do something that nobody has ever done before, except for, let's take that back. Conflict did it when they had 5 territories. 5 territories. And they had Fun Stealer in there. This is when this first came out, when mages first came out as a thing you had to defend. Fun Stealer was there, and he defended his mages by, giving calls out in a very similar fashion to what just happened now. And Conflict was able to, that was before they were even in squad. I feel like that was the season where Conflict got the recognition as not just a meme guild of gamer dads who are just always there, to actually being decent. And
competitive guild.
Yes, competitive guild that isn't, you can make the jokes now, but it's no longer, the jokes are just a meme now. They are a competitive, top 5 guild in the game.
It's not actually a gamer dad guild. Like,
no,
people say that, but it's like once you get in their comms, it's like it's all people 20s, in their 20s and stuff like that.
But it's run by some older gentlemen, historically have run it. And by older, I mean just in their 30s. They're just people who have jobs.
And dads.
A lot of dads. Like, they're just a little, they're not, it's not 50-year-olds It's not granddad culture.
Mhm.
But no, they finally became like an upper echelon guild because of mage defending, and nobody has done it since. But then June with the alliance started mage defending. I remember over those 3 days, I got more pings than I've gotten ever, except for when I was in conflict,
Mhm.
because conflict pings you about 45 times an hour.
For what?
Oh, for just like you have to know everything. You have to be aware of what mages need to be defended, when to get to the CTA, what to bring to the CTA, who's going to the CTA, what gear you have to, call back for the CTA, who asked for gear after the CTA, who's getting their gear fulfilled after. A lot of things. Let's just say it's a bureaucracy there, and it's a bureaucratic nightmare. Red tape. No, they whatever they do with their pings, it works for them. But no, when I was in Daddy defending the mages, that was the most pings I've ever gotten from a alliance or guild, because people were not just pinging, but when the ping went up, people would go and defend, and you would see in alliance chat Xing up for it. And when I would get a ping, sometimes I would just log on to see what was going on as a way to get an idea of, was this working? Because I think it was Monday, I said, by Thursday, I think June is going to pass Money Guild.
Mhm.
And then Tuesday morning, it happened. Like, it was
Yeah.
like 12 hours later, because they just defended all their mages. And we saw a guild get points at a rate we've never seen before, because even though Money Guild had 100 and I think it was 23 territories, they never had the mages on those territories. When June had, I think it was like 70 something at that point.
They passed. June passed.
Yeah, June at one point, didn't they? June went over, like they hit the most ever.
They had the
now?
most. They had the
Yeah,
most.
but the days that they were defending, it was about 70 territories that were completely full of mages.
Yeah.
And it was they took the Mercia ones, not all the Cumbria ones weren't always up, and the what is it, Siluria ones were up.
Mhm.
And yeah, they did an amazing job defending them. And you would see like the Mercy ones were up all day,
All the time.
the
All the
whole
time.
day, 4 in almost every zone. And we saw points get accrued in a rate we've never seen before. And I don't know, mage defending, boring ass gameplay, but worth a lot of points.
I mean, Goof did a tremendous job. Like, he like the thing is, I always have doubts if it's not a guild that's BA
Mm-hmm.
or money guild. I always have doubts if that guild can pull off that no life level, that try hard level, to just keep going and actually try hard for enough amount of hours and just enough hours in a day to actually just keep going until the season's over. You know,
Well,
but
you see it break people.
Goof did, yeah, exactly, yeah.
It
And
breaks
Goof did it.
people. Yeah, Goof did a great job. I was just talking to him the other day after this all went down, and there was an incident where a member of the community broke, and I was asking Goof because Goof was involved, and he was like, "Dude, no, you just have to be chill and take it all in game, and I'll talk shit in game, but as soon as like the game portion of this is done, we're all just playing a game. We're all
100%.
just playing a game. We're all people. I'm not gonna go after anybody hard. Like I'm not gonna even go after anybody, on a Twitch chat. I'll talk to them as if they're another person playing my game. That's it. And if anything, really upset somebody, I will talk to them to fix it. I'll fix this situation because he thought he might have been involved. He's like, I'm gonna fucking fix this. I'm like, you're not, and you're not part of the problem. You're fine.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like we all take this game serious. If you look at the real life factor, and people start going into real life,
Mhm.
like people start going into Goof's real life, and it's like that's how you know that some people get into that level where they're super angry, super hateful. Because like for example, like the biggest beef in this game ever was probably like me and Derek, right? That was probably the biggest beef in this game.
The most public beef for sure. I mean,
The most
absolutely.
public.
Yeah. Most
And
publicized.
if you look at it, like how many PMs do you think that I have where we talked about private shit, right? on each other's PMs. It's about 3 years worth of PMs.
Yeah, but you guys
3 years
were
worth of history.
very close, and I don't think I've ever seen you take a personal thing. Okay, let me take that back. I've seen you make fun of his picture a lot, and the bad picture he has with the yellow stain. I've seen
The mustard stain.
Yeah, I've seen
of course.
you making fun of the dude's bad picture, but I've never and I've heard you make fun of his home arrangement, but I've seen him make fun of you for very similar things, for your beard, for your unkemptness, and for your living at home with your mom. The same you guys are going after each other for the same shit, and to me that's a level of banter that when two people know each other is okay, but you've never gone after him about the personal shit.
Yeah,
I've never seen.
But that's the things you described. That's what
I mean. Those are the you guys have like a level that you guys could go after each other that would be horrific, and like deplorable on both sides. And I have not seen either of you do that. Like I've seen both of you act like, like kids playing a video game, insulting each other heavily. You guys use different words, but you both, I wouldn't want you to do it around my mom. But I've never really been, oh God, like that's crossing a line between you and Derek. And as the beef has gone on, I gotta say that has gotten to the point where I would let my mom watch the most recent back and forth between you and Derek.
It's not bad anymore.
It's really respectful. Anymore. It's like you guys, it's no longer white hot. You guys are no longer like these two guys going at each other for leadership of your friends. It's now you're pulling from the same gigantic pool of friends who all just want to play this game, and that's what you now have in common, not what you have against each other. And it's been interesting to watch this different level of respect going on. I hope one day that whatever it is that I did to Derek to upset him, he gets over and we can, chat. I really respect his game. I find him one of the most interesting characters in any video game I've ever played. And I really would love to get the two of you on to just discuss not your history, not what's going on between BA and Money Guild, but what you guys think of a particular season, like what you guys thought of season 8, or what you guys think of the patch when it's out, something like that, to get really two sides of this really interesting story that's been going on for fucking 5 years now. Yeah. Well, 3 years for the two of you, but like this game, it's been interesting for you guys for sure. I mean, my favorite.
At this point,
I was gonna say my favorite moment in Albion history is like I think the second invasion day when you and Derek met on the field of battle, both using staves of balance and hitting each other when it's completely fucking worthless. Like no, you're not gonna do anything to each other, but the entire army's kind of clear around you as you guys meet on this tiny little step bridge in a swamp, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. You just never.
I remember that. I remember that. That was a reset where Oops won the. I'm pretty sure Oops won the season. NBA was still getting stronger.
Mm-hmm. This was
and then we ended up in like one of the swamp zones in the NA time zone, and then we had our Zergs fight each other. Our beef was still super serious at that point. Like now it's whatever. Now it's really whatever. Like I saw the last interview with Eric. He actually said some nice things. So for that reason, like it's whatever for me. Like this season was mostly about smashing Take Care.
Mm-hmm.
They really wanted to take our place in this community. They really wanted to take our place in this game. So I didn't really like that. I didn't like that. I didn't like how they were going at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when BA came in, we weren't really obsessed with our competition. So we weren't really going at the other ZVZ guilds as much when BA came in, right?
Yeah, it was a content
we weren't
guild
making
when
it
it first
personal.
started. You guys were
exactly. It was a content guild.
Yeah.
And we didn't make it personal with the other ZVZ guilds. It was literally just content. The thing is, when Take Care came in, this two seasons ago, all they literally focus on is what BA is doing. So their foundation, just because of that reason, because they're always focused on their competition, their foundation is just not going to be strong enough until they focus on their own foundation. So when they focus on Lower Foundation, then we can fight. Until then, like I think that's kind of what they're doing right now in Anglia.
Mm-hmm.
They're rebuilding. They're figuring themselves out, and then after that, we can continue our beef. But for now, it's just no competition, no competition at all. But I'll pick Derek over Ellipsis any day, or Sorab.
Do you actually
Any
want to
day.
talk about like that? Because I have talked about it a little bit, but Duratine and Ellipsis basically had a falling out, and I hear it's because of Sorab and Sam Hexo, and the result has been a catastrophe because I even hear the results are not only has Duratine left TC, the like the third, fourth iteration of TC, and given that to Ellipsis, Sorab has now, I don't know, a weird relationship with TC where he's sort of in leadership of TC, but in Shelty. You have Oops now completely like disintegrating as none of these guilds are there now. AW Gaming even out. And you have rumors that Money Guild is going to reform a new guild. And this is all from like, I don't even know, man. Like, what happened between these four guys? Do you have any idea with your... I know you are more informed of this than I am. All I have is Duratine and his chosen screens to show me about the love triangle that existed. And I don't know how accurate that is to the actual description of what happened.
Yeah. So with 13's my boy, but you have to believe 40% of what he says.
Right.
And 60% you have to discount. So what I can say about that story is, aside from the e-dating part, let's put aside the e-dating part.
Yeah, I think that's... I feel like that's a distraction from what really occurred.
Yeah. I think so too. So Money Guild will stay. Oops will stay. So what ended up happening is they lost. These are personalities that were never gonna get along for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorab, Ellipsis, Derek. It was just never gonna happen. So they ended up losing. Whether they won or they lost, it was gonna end up badly. It didn't matter. So they lost. Ellipsis sacrificed a lot for Derek for the season. He knows that. Derek knows that. And Sorab also sacrificed a lot. He invested a lot. And when it didn't work out, they separated. Now, the thing is, for them to work together is very, very difficult. Sorab is a very difficult person to work with. Ellipsis is a very difficult person to work with. Derek is also a very difficult person to work with. But if I had to choose one person to work with out of the three, it would be Derek. 3 out of 3 times, 10 out of 10 times. I would work with Derek over Sorab and over Ellipsis.
Yeah, he'll freak out, but he'll freak out when you actually do something. Sorab will freak out when Sorab does something and freak out at you. Whereas Derek, you have to actually fuck up for Derek to get like really, really out there. You have to do something, and then it can be it can be a little thing, and that he'll blow up. But it has to be on you. Like he doesn't blame you for his own mistakes generally, from what I've seen. Which is
true.
What's really irritating in an alliance is when somebody else messes up, and then they want to blame you for their mistake so that they don't have to acknowledge their mistake. And I see that a lot in some of these bigger alliances.
Yeah. I mean, the where Ellipsis fucked up is he went for the result rather than the direction. So instead of putting his guild in a good direction, because his guild wasn't in a good direction, they were building up, they were getting strong. They were probably the best ZVZ guild for like a whole month.
Yeah, if their goal was to become a fantastic ZVZ guild, they would have had victory.
Yeah, exactly. So they could have just chilled. They could have been the best ZVZ guild for a very long time, for a few months, whatever. Just chilled, just worked on themselves. Instead, they kept destroying themselves because of other people's objectives, and they only went for Money Guild's objectives because they wanted to come at us, at BA. So it ended up eating at their own guild, whereas they should have just focused on themselves. Like if you see Blue Army, we always had beef with Money Guild. But you see, when we lost season 1, we went into season 2, and we never tried to play for the season. We never even tried to cuck Money Guild for the season win in season 2. We didn't care. We literally just did our own thing. you know, and we beefed with the guilds that we wanted to fight against, but it never it never stopped our own goals. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
So we were just building.
Your goals were always, well, I remember I was a little bit more active during seasons 1 and 2, but it was always about just having an activity to do at the appropriate time of the day. And
Always.
it was when we didn't have that CTA, there was, okay, well, we'll go do something else, but together. And everybody was always just kind of hanging out, and it was more of a community to be part of inside of Albion that you knew was going to be active and have a thing for you to do.
Yep. As we got further into the seasons, a lot more guilds were coming to their end, to their peak, to their end, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they just started to focus on their objectives rather than content. So now we end up in a game where we have even the KFCs or the vastly superiors who are counting guilds, and they just focus on objectives, on their ranks.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just where we ended up. But yeah, like season 2, season 3, it was a lot more content. There was content all the time, and there was much more room to just build your guilds. At this point, guild leaders are so fed up about leading guilds and babysitting that they just don't want to do it anymore. So now you see 1PGs is banding, aggressors is banding, KFCs is banding. There's maybe 4 more guilds that are disbanding. So that's what's happening right now. Everyone's waiting for the next big update.
I really hope that the events that we have for this next season are fun enough to make people just want to do them and not care about winning, just doing the events. Like,
I hope so.
I don't want to. I'm going to use it, the term theme park here. I hope this is a good ride, and that we get to see something that stands out more, not just as a event that we see as a transition, but can be something that we look at as part of the story, that we look at something that goes forward from this point on as something we all remember, that we look at as an event that was transitional and impactful, like that people want to talk about, like one of those coalitions where everybody, like the Albion Super Bowl, when 5 different home plots attacked in a day. That's just like one of those things you remember. It was fun. It was exciting. I'm hoping that we get some more events like that people can remember going forward into the next season as a good starting zone of just getting guilds to fight each other again. Because it feels like right now that the people are using too many proxies. Like they're fighting through somebody else. Like you guys are literally fighting Money Guild. Well, fighting TC through June and Money Guild fighting each other.
Mm-hmm.
And your enemy is TC, but you're helping June to beat Money Guild to beat TC.
Right.
And that's not what I want to see going forward. I want to see Blue Army going, you know what? Let's go mess up TC. Now, we might not be able to take their stuff and hold it, but we can definitely mess up their day. And that's what you end up going to do for the content. And going back and making sure you protect your own shit during your own necessary hours. I feel like we're going to see a lot less of people creating empires and a lot more of people going, this is my home, let me go raid somebody else's stuff and mess up their stuff for a while and irritate them and get that salt without being able to go hold it, but it's a great adventure for the day. Like say if TC, for example, their home plots are, their hideouts, for example, are at 20 UTC and BA is at 18 UTC. Now, you can choose to defend and attack during that. Do you know what I mean? And that'll give you guys twice as many fights. Now, you don't have to really worry about them trying to hold your land, because say you fight, 10 zones apart from each other you live, and holding that type of territory would be nearly impossible. But at the same time, it gives you daily activities that you can go do now twice, that should be big fights, because the resulting victory or loss is significant enough that you want to deal with it. Like you want to make sure that you defend your plot, because if say you have a tier 7 tower there, that's a lot of effort to get in there. You have to, win a lot of crystals to get a T7, T8 tower. And what that will do to a zone will be phenomenal and make it so you want to have, like your guys who are out there doing shit like gathering or faming are going to want to live there and be there rather than live out of Carleon. And if they're there, you need to have your forces there who are going to fight around them to make sure they don't get wiped out 3 times a day like your mages. And I think people would rather defend their friends than their mages. And after seeing what I thought was going to be a very boring situation defending mages, like I've said, this is a very boring type of gameplay, turn into something exciting because of the effects that it had and the value that it had in the world and the fact that people were raiding and defending at the same time. It's boring to defend mages if nobody's raiding. But if there's a reason to defend because somebody's attacking you, that suddenly turns that into a much more engaging and fun thing. And I'm looking forward to seeing that twice a day from most guilds as they could attack 5 times a day if they really wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see that. Like any reason to actually focus on the game and any reason to compete is super exciting for players like me who will just try hard all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like for me, what was last season? Season 6?
Mm-hmm.
This is season 7, right?
Yep, we're finishing up season 7.
Yeah, so all of season 6, I was drunk. All of season 6, I was drunk. It was so boring, and it was getting to the point where it was so boring that I didn't feel like tryharding,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And even when I was tryharding, I was drunk. I was just drinking wine all the time.
Thank God we had Chris.
Yeah, we had. Thank God for Chris. Thank God for Chris. Thank God for Chris. Thank God for Knight. Thank God for Snacksword. Thank God for Perel, Yuki, all those people. Thank God. Or else we wouldn't have a BA right now.
Well, we wouldn't have that 3rd crown for sure. We might still have BA. No,
I was there.
No,
I was
honestly,
there.
if those guys weren't there, if those guys aren't in the guild, though, there is no BA to still have.
There's no BA.
Right. Like, we have an incredible core of officers, which is what I think most guilds have that stick around for this long, have an incredible core of officers. And what has impressed me most, though, is the ability of these guys to step up. Like, I don't want to discount other guilds, but if you see a guild leader take 3 weeks off, it can kill a guild, even if he's showing up and still taking it off. Like, there's a big difference between being there and leading. And I mean, would it be fair to say at times you weren't leading when you were drunk?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
See, like, that's the thing. If like you don't have the officers to come up and step up when the leader isn't there, it can be very, like, I can't think of a lot of other guilds that if Derek left for 3 weeks or was unable to lead for 3 or 4 weeks, what that would do. I mean,
Exactly.
Could you see Sam Hexo stepping up and leading? I mean, could you see Cargera or Bodeville stepping up and leading?
Nope.
It would be very hard. Derek would be incredibly hard to replace. They just don't have that kind of opportunity. I don't see in Shelty, I don't even know who the officers are now because it feels like the Shelty that I knew no longer is there.
Yeah.
TC, we see what happens in TC when Ellipsis isn't there. It stops being that TC, and they have to make a new TC.
They don't play.
They have to make a new. They have to make a new guild. Could you imagine what it would be like if Gluttony didn't show up for Arch?
Yeah.
How long would that alliance last?
Yep.
It would fold in a day. They need that man to preach for them, or they fold. It's incredible. I feel like this is probably the most pro BA I've ever been. But like, yeah, our officers are really what keeps this thing going and keeps it successful. I've been very impressed by the high level officers. I mean, even Conflict doesn't have that kind of officership, and they have changed their
I don't
leader.
think anybody does.
They've changed their leader almost every 3 seasons because they have such strong officers that they should move their leaders up. But BA has an incredibly long list, and it's been impressive to watch. And that's probably why I stick around, guys. People wondering why does Shozen just stick around in BA? Is it just for the Crystal Eagles? No, they don't give me mounts. They keep kicking me out to make sure I don't get them.
Look, the main accomplishment I have in this game is to build a team around me
Mm-hmm.
that's just smarter than me. Like Perel's smarter than me. If we're talking about money, I don't like people say IRMT, right? Because that's the go-to insult that people go to for when they want to insult another guild's GM.
Mm-hmm.
They say, "Oh, you're or guild leader or whatever." They say, "Oh, you're RMT." The thing is, I don't have control of our money. I don't. I'm not good with money. I'm just not. So I use what's in the guild bank, and about the deals and things like that. That goes to Perel. Like the main accountant is Perel. Then we have our secret accountant Bazort, who helps us with a lot of our deals.
He drops in the loot when you're low.
Yeah. So Bazort's the secret BA accountant. The Illuminati, Albion's Illuminati. But like I have Pearl who's smarter than me. I have Yuki who's smarter than me. I have these people who are smarter than me that just hold everything together behind the scenes. So when I'm being retarded, I'm drinking too much. First of all, I trained night. Snack store sucks. Whoever. These guys, listen. These guys are fucking good fucking shot callers. And they can run shit when I'm not there. They just can't.
Yeah, I've seen it. I mean, there's no joke when people say second party, best party. They're not joking. Like we have really good number 2 shot callers, number 3 shot callers. They do great jobs in BA, and it's very impressive how everybody follows orders and gets it done. But I want to bring up something kind of controversial before we go here, because this was a big deal when it happened. It's a little late now in the season to talk about it, but there were rumors that BA was responsible for the damnation changes.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to that? Because I mean, they say that basically you and I worked together to get them. I don't even know what the hell was wrong with damnation, to be quite honest. When it got changed, I didn't even know about it until afterwards, and people explained to me what was going on. I was like, well, yeah, let me pull out my damnation. Yep, that I can understand. The range of it is huge, and it does massive damage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just looked at my PMs with Retro Man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my PMs with Retro Man, they go back to about the damnation. They go back to March. Okay, So in March, April time frame, I said, listen, this is our video. It's one of our bomb squad videos. I said, this is our broken ZVZ combo. This needs to be fixed. Okay. And this was months and months ago. Changes didn't happen until like 1 month ago. So if anybody wants to talk about how, SBI is biased towards BA, these changes, when I called them out, these changes weren't even noticed until like a month ago.
Well, I don't think it was. I mean, people like knew of the combos, but they didn't really realize that they were a big deal until we started seeing them in, 3 different ZVZ forces as like they just became rampant bomb squads, and their effect in ZVZs became well noticed in the stats. Like I think when Retro Man will look at like the logs, and when he sees what happens when there's a bomb squad that just deletes people in 2.5 seconds, I mean he can see those and go, 13 people died to 1 spell. That's noticeable. How did that happen? Oh, ZVZ scaling damage. Oh, does not seem to work with this. Now, personally, when I saw the changes, I was shocked, and I did not think that was the direction that they should go, but I'm not a developer. I thought maybe, making the size of it smaller would have been the way to go.
That's what we all asked for, baby. That's what we all asked for.
Right, but I think that their vision of it is a very large spell that is supposed to, like, that's what, like, I don't think they ever thought that Curse was supposed to have explosive damage like that. I mean, they're the only other spell for Curse that does, explosive damage is a single target that has to have stack on it and is cleansable. So the idea that they suddenly have a fire level of damage spell that when stacked 3 or 4 times, like 3 or 4 different players using it, and it hits 15 to 16 players, they can just wipe everybody out. I don't think that was ever intended to be something that's inside of a curse spellbook. They very much are this damage over time and dot mechanic and debuff mechanic is really what's associated with them. And I think that spell was originally supposed to be a debuff that affects a large scale of area, a large amount of area. And they wanted to keep it like that, but still have some damage associated with it, so it's got the dot. But, you know, again, not a game designer, and just going, I love curse. Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't blame Retro Man. Like, Retro Man has his work cut out. Like, he barely has anybody to help him.
Yeah, that's
it's a very small team for the balancing team.
I
That's
really
a problem.
wish
That's a big
some players would take it, like these guys who are complaining a lot, would take it on themselves to join up with Retro Man on the balancing team and actually make a team of 5, make a team of 20. Like, TC, when they got upset, I would have loved them to, you know, say, okay, we'll come test it with you and test what we think would be the best alternative to this. And we will get our 20. If you can get 120 people to a ZVZ, you should be able to get 20 people to a test. And
look. And who do you think is complaining the most right now on the NDA balance test about damnation?
I don't know.
TC.
Yeah, well,
TC.
Okay. I thought you were going to surprise me by saying somebody besides TC. No, but no, TC, yeah, they were the ones who were upset about it, and I feel like they should have gone and tested it.
Look, we came up, like, RBA Bomb Squad came up, Malphus, James Corner, Infamous, Waka, Kameni. They came up with the damnation abuse. As soon as we found it, I took the video, I sent it to Retro Man. Nothing was done about it for months. Okay? And then TC started abusing it. And it just so happened that when TC was abusing it, Retro Man finally came up with the
fix to it, and he had to do it very quickly because it was becoming such a you nailed it on the head there. Abusing it. It was used all the time. And it went from not being used and known about to being used all the time and very effective. Kind of reminds me of the bow, when you would use the whispering and the normal bow, and you would stack them together, and you could get both buffs at the same time and just obliterate people. Now, when it was very rarely used in ganking, it wasn't a big deal. When it became the must-have combination to have in a GVG, it needed to be changed.
Right.
Now, was it completely unfair in ganking? Yes. Should it have probably been changed early on when somebody noticed it? Yes. Anybody who'd been ganked on it would probably raise their hand and go, yeah, fix it. But a lot of times, like you said, he's got a lot on his plate. He does a lot of work. And he doesn't have a lot of testers. So he has to focus on the things that are most game-changing at the moment. And right now, specifically, he's working on that, you know, like the new debuffs and getting that balance. So we really need you guys out there who ZVZ. If you want to be complaining about it in, you know, a few months when this is, you know, the meta, do something about it now. Contact Retro Man. Say, I have 20 guys. We want to help test these things. We don't want to be on the receiving end of finding out and not liking it when this is all changed. We want to help now and make sure it works. And you have a little bit of window of time on that before you see, like, the battle confusion, I'm pretty sure, is going in soon. I think that debuff goes in real soon. So people who want to test that, now is the time. And by now, I mean today while we're recording it, not today while you're listening to it.
And let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Like, SBI, like, my point is, SBI still don't get a lot of help. Who do you think is the only group that always brings 20 when SBI asks for a playtest? Who do you think is that?
Well, I know the answer to that, and I know it because people complain about it all the time. Like, somehow that means that you guys have an inappropriate relationship with SBI. But no, BA brings a group almost to every test, whether it's 5-man or 20, and is polite and respectful, has not super, you know, damaged their reputation with any of the mods. And I don't feel like that's hard for any of the massive groups in this game to do. And sometimes it involves biting your tongue when you don't like what you see and going, okay, not everything's going to go in my favor. But
It's just 20 people. That's it.
It's 20
There's so many guilds in
and you
this
have a
game.
full week. Like, basically, usually they give you a week's notice to know when you got to get 5 people or 20 people to go. And that, you stay for what, an hour? You do the work, and then you have had an impact in the future of this game. And
look, the playtests are a nightmare. Like, I can't tell you how many times, like, they ask for a 5v5 test, right? They ask for teams for a 5v5 playtest. So SBA, I don't really want to do a 5v5 playtest. We have some 5v5 GGers, Sotras, and it, just random 5v5 GGers, even if they're washed up, whatever. But we have players, GGers, that we can put in a 5v5 playtest, but it's not our area of expertise. So I don't sign up to the 5v5 playtest.
Well,
and I can't tell you how many times.
You always have conflict is almost always there.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. But I can't tell you how many times a 5v5 team backed out of a NDA playtest. And so they had to call us in and be like, yo, do you have 5 for this? Like, can you bring in 5? Just because the other team backed out or they're not here, they don't show up. So like 90% of the time, one group of the NDA playtest groups just doesn't show up, or they're late, or just doesn't bother.
Yeah, they don't see it as valuable as even showing up to a regular GVG.
Exactly, but they'll complain. They'll complain on Reddit, and they'll complain, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, why is this happening? Why is that happening? Why is this not being tested? Whatever. It's like, motherfuckers, show up.
Yeah, show up, guys. We need the help on testing, and we want it. Like, I mean, it would help me a lot personally, because then I would get less crap from the audience for saying that the tests are BA bias, and it's because they show up simply, even when, like he said, they don't even sign up for it. I just see them at the dang tests. Retro Man wants your assistance. He wants to, make this in favor of everybody, and the best way to do it is to be active. To do is, the game needs it. Test the shit out, man. Don't complain. And I feel like we're talking to very specific people right now, Mojo. I feel like we're both thinking of a person and going, why aren't you testing your stuff, man? Write a paragraph. I've seen you write 40 paragraphs when you don't like it, when you don't show up to the test. Write 1 paragraph when you do. Come on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
but it is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like we just covered that damnation topic pretty good. Thank you for showing up and doing this interview with me, talking about Season 7, giving a bit of a history on, going over some controversial topics, and I hope the audience enjoyed this, as we definitely went much longer than we anticipated. Is there anything you want to say? I know you earlier gave 45 minutes of shout-outs on the Albion News 24. Would you like me to just rebroadcast that 2 hours, or do you want to give some more shout-outs?
Yeah, just real quick. Listen, BA wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our amazing team. So let me shout out our content specialists, who always provide our boys with content. Our shot callers, our main shot callers, who when I'm not there, they just pick up. Our people who do the background work behind the scenes, whether it's politics, whether it's fucking working with the gear and things like that, the crafting, so the Yuki, Perel, Zelina, all those people. Our officers are amazing. Flacco, Groglor, there's 20 fucking people to name, but basically just all our officers, all our main people, and all of my core people that come whenever we need them. So to those people, shout out. I love you guys. Best community I've ever been in. So BA number 1. And thank you to Shozen, because me and you, our interviews are always amazing. So
yeah, have a good time.
Always. It's always a good time. And congratulations on your show, because you guys are getting strong. And that's it.
Well, thank you very much. It was great having an interview with you once again, and I look forward to doing the next season roundup. I feel like we've made this kind of like a tradition for the last few seasons, and it's pretty good.
Always. We always do this, at least like once every 2 months,
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely do, and it's definitely been fun. Thank you once again, and I hope you guys all enjoyed the show. Tune in next time. Peace.